Chapter 1. Harvest Moon. When Nora Winslow steered the last mile of gravel toward the family farm, her radio dissolved into white hiss. She switched it off, letting the October wind pour through the cracked window. The sky was a low bruise, and the corn on either side of the road bowed in one direction, as though something large were breathing beneath the stalks. She had not been home since the accident, 1 year, 5 months, and 2 days ago. Distance and therapy were meant to scab grief over. Yet guilt had climbed to the passenger seat somewhere past Amarillo and ridden the rest of the way in silence. The farm was in escrow. Her father, who died 3 weeks earlier, of heartbreak as much as any ailment, left one request in shaky script. Burn the final harvest. Scatter the ashes at the creek bend so the land can rest. She parked beside the sagging porch and listened. Dry leaves skittered over warped boards, tapping the code she and her brother Caleb once used for dinners ready. Everything looked smaller, but the silence was huge, an auditorium waiting for applause that would never come. One night, she whispered to the empty yard. Just one night. Chapter 2. The Lantern. The barn smelled of hay, warm wood, and childhood summers spiked with lemonade. Dust motes drifted like lazy fireflies. In the loft, an old hurricane lantern hung where Caleb had left it the evening they chased real fireflies into the orchard. She unhooked it, half full of kerosene. One match later, gold lights spread, and for the first time since Caleb's truck crossed the center line, Nora felt something like warmth. County rules banned open burns, but the crop was tinder dry. Her father's directive thrummed like a second heartbeat. She hefted the lantern and stepped into the rows. Corn whispered around her, leaves brushing sleeves, husks clicking like teeth. 10 yards in, she heard a second set of footsteps matching her pauses. She swung the lantern back, nothing but stalks, but the air smelled wrong. River mud instead of papery October. Chapter 3. Caleb's Whistle. When they were 9, Caleb invented a 3-note whistle so their parents wouldn't catch them sneaking cookies. 2 notes up, 1 down. Nora tried it now, the sound thin against the rows. Footsteps resumed, closer. Lantern raised, she saw a figure, 2 tall, 1 row over, a scarecrow. Its head was a burlap sack stitched into a crude grin, one arm lifting to point deeper into the field. Wind, she told herself, until it took a human step. Panic lit her calves. Leaves sliced her cheeks as she ran. Every dozen strides, the sack head kept pace, always 1 row over, never falling behind. Chapter 4. The Clearing. The corn ended abruptly in a perfect circle of bare earth. In its center yawned an ancient stone well, cross-bordered with fresh lumber, nails hammered at frantic angles. The scarecrow halted at the ring's edge. Up close, the burlap sagged with wet weight. Darker patches oozed through the weed. Nora backed onto the boards. From below came water's hollow echo, then Caleb's whistle, faint but climbing. Tears blurred the lantern flame. "Caleb?" she croaked. The scarecrow lifted its sack head and answered with the same whistle, pitch-warped. It stepped forward. Wood groaned. Nails screamed. The plank beneath Nora split. Her arms pinwheeled, the lantern shattered, and kerosene ignited the dirt in a sudden ring of fire. Heat slapped her face. Through the widening gap, she glimpsed water lit from beneath by something golden. A reed-thin chorus hissed, "Let him go. Come with us. The field is hungry." Chapter 5. Under the waterboards gave way. Nora plunged into cold so brutal it punched air from her lungs. Darkness folded around her, replaced by a shimmering aurora below. Corn stalks drifted like drowned hair, and in their midst floated Caleb, eyes closed, body limned in gold dust, bound by living roots. Impossible. He'd been buried 8 states away. Water whispered through her mind. Stay. Grow. Rest. She whistled, 2 up, 1 down, forcing bubbles from her mouth. Caleb's eyelids fluttered. He whistled back. Roots loosened. She wrapped his arm over her shoulder and kicked for the surface. Currents spun weeds into clawing hands, but the golden light rose with them. They burst into night air, tinted orange by burning corn. The scarecrow shrieked, 1,000 wet throats tearing, and toppled into the flames. Chapter 6. Ashes Nora dragged Caleb clear. He coughed water and smoke. Fire raced outward, licking corn like a fuse. Embers whirled into the stars. Caleb looked older, a single year, but his eyes were clear and bright with gold flecks. "I heard you," he rasped. "Heard you singing in the dark." They leaned over the well and shoved. Ancient stones collapsed inward, smothering the glowing water. Flame guttered and died, smoke curling like incense from cooling earth. For the first time since forever, the sky looked wide enough to breathe. Chapter 7. Creek Bend dawn found them at the creek. Nora cradled a burlap sack of seed corn, now fragrant black ash. Caleb carried the empty lantern. She tipped ashes into the current. He scattered handfuls, murmuring thanks. A dark ribbon swirled downstream, blending with sunlight. Behind them, the cornfield smoldered, empty but not hollow. Caleb pressed a hand to his ribs. "I remember falling," he said. Then voices promised if I stayed still, the pain would stop. "They lied," Nora answered and tucked wet hair behind his ear. Hair impossibly warm and alive. Chapter 8. Rest. They walked toward the house, dawn on their backs, two shadows instead of one. The kitchen still smelled of stale coffee. Nora found batteries for the radio. Static bled into a bluegrass hymn about reunion on the far shore. They made breakfast, toast and borrowed eggs, and ate in companionable silence. Grief didn't vanish, it melted into something bearable, a signpost reading, "You were here." Outside, crows inspected the field, but found no carrion worth the trouble. Caleb washed dishes while Nora booked 2 one-way train tickets. Fog-soft Portland felt right. The knot in her chest loosened another notch. On the porch, she half expected the whistle, 2 up, 1 down. Instead, she heard only wind rushing through nascent grass, promising that roots, once freed, learned to grow elsewhere, and that, at last, was peace.